Done.
Exactly. And to guide us through this intricate material, we've got two big thought-provoking questions. They really get to the heart of these sources. The first one asks, reality is ultimately a selective act of perception and interpretation. And the second, which is incredibly relevant to our digital lives and the world we inhabit today, poses a stark warning. Big tech algorithm without humanity is mental holocaust.
Right. We're going to explore what these powerful statements truly mean. We'll dissect them using the compelling examples and deep insights from the provided material. Our goal is to make these concepts crystal clear, connect them directly to your everyday experiences, and encourage you, to look at the world a little differently. Maybe even prompt you to ask some important questions of yourself about how you engage with information.
So settle in, maybe grab that coffee, because we're about to jump into a deep dive that promises to be both enlightening and incredibly engaging, helping you unlock ultimately a selective act of perception and interpretation. This is a truly profound statement, right? It suggests that what we consider real isn't quite as fixed as we might think. The essay starts this discussion by looking at us, humans, as, well, quite an oddity in the grand scheme of evolution, especially when compared to other species.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here, and it's quite a paradox, is how the essay highlights our unique biology. Take our brains, for instance. Our skulls are disproportionately bigger than those of other animals, to make room for our massive, complex brains. And this isn't just some quirky evolutionary trait. It's had some serious consequences for our physical structure. It's actually twisted our vertebrae, giving us those distinct curves in our spine, leading to that back pain so many of us experience today.
Right, the S curve.
Exactly. And even more dramatically, it has made childbirth an incredibly difficult and dangerous task for human mothers. So much so that historically mothers often face severe risks, sometimes even, well, perishing in the process. Now, contrast this with our closest relatives, like, say, the majestic gorilla. Gorillas are immensely powerful. They can uproot trees with ease, rip apart thick branches. They exhibit brute strength that far surpasses any human. They are, in many ways, physically superior, built for raw power and survival in the wild. Yet the meek, often fragile Homo sapiens, that's us, today, sits at the apex.
Right at the top.
We decide who lives and who dies on this planet, and we dominate it in a way no other species does.
Right.
We're physically weaker, slower, and have these biological disadvantages like difficult childbirth, yet we're at the very top.
It's truly remarkable when you think about it. How did we, with all these physical limitations, manage to become the dominant species on Earth? The essay tells us it all boils down to one word: awareness. That one word seems to be the game changer for humans, setting us apart. It implies we can actually shape our realities, even with all our physical limitations. So, is reality then truly a subjective truth based on this awareness?
Precisely. This concept of awareness is absolutely key. Our awareness isn't just about noticing things. It's our unique capacity for abstract thought, for using symbolic language, and for that incredible ability to project ourselves into the past and future. This cognitive leap, well, it allows us to create shared narratives, complex social structures, even entire belief systems, all of which, in essence, become our collective reality.
Okay, so it's more than just seeing what's in front of us.
Exactly. Unlike animals that react instinctively to their environment, driven by immediate survival, we actively interpret, recreate, and even impose our vision onto the world. This is the source of both our greatest creations, like art and science, and, unfortunately, our deepest conflicts, too. This capacity for awareness leads us to question, can facts truly be equated with truth about present circumstances? The essay argues that human evolution actually negates this idea.
So facts aren't the same as truth. How does that work?
Well, facts are often presented as objective truth, something universal and measurable, like the melting point of water or the chemical composition of molecule, right? These are things that are true regardless of who is observing them. But reality, as experienced by humans, is a profound manifestation of the choices we make. These choices, in turn, flow directly from what we think and what we perceive. So while a fact might be objectively true in a scientific sense, our lived reality is filtered through our individual consciousness, our beliefs, our values, our past experiences. It's not just about what is, but about what we make of what is, how we interpret those objective facts.
That's a powerful distinction. Differentiating between objective facts and our subjective lived reality. It really makes you think about how we interact with the world. If reality is shaped by our choices and perceptions, what does that mean for how we understand the truth of a situation? Can we ever truly agree on the truth if everyone's reality is slightly different? Let's explore that with a really simple example from the essay: the color of ink. If I say this thing is blue, that seems like an objective fact, right? But what if a colorblind person looks at it?
This is a perfect illustration of how perception works and how it intertwines with interpretation, even for something seemingly straightforward. The essay explains that the color we perceive isn't just out there waiting for us to see it in some universal way. It's a complex phenomenon involving light waves reflecting from the paper. When blue ink reflects blue light waves, special cells in our eyes called cones, they get excited by these specific blue light waves. These cells then send electrical signals to our brain, basically telling it what they saw, and our brain quickly processes and identifies it as blue.
Okay, simple enough.
But for a colorblind person, those special cone cells might not work correctly, or their brain might process those signals differently. This leads to a different perception. They might see that blue ink is gray, or maybe a shade of green, depending on the type of color blindness. This demonstrates how reality becomes this complex interplay of what we receive through our senses, our perception, and how our brain then uses that information to make sense and evaluate something, our interpretation. It's not just a direct pipeline. There's active personal construction happening in our minds for every single sensory input.
That makes so much sense. It's wild to think that even something as basic as seeing a color isn't purely objective. Have you ever considered how your physical senses and your brain might be creating a reality that's unique to you, even for something as simple as seeing a color? It really makes you question what objective truly means in our daily experience. Here's where it gets really interesting. The idea that multiple realities can coexist isn't new. The essay points out it's been recognized for thousands of years in philosophies like Anekantvada of Jainism.
Exactly. Anekantvada of Jainism, which literally means non-one-sidedness or many-sided reality, is a philosophy that suggests ultimate truth is multifaceted. No single viewpoint can capture it entirely. It's a powerful concept, and the famous fable of the blind man and the elephant perfectly illustrates this ancient wisdom.
Ah, the blind man and the elephant. I remember that one.
Right. In the story, several blind men encounter an elephant for the very first time. They've never experienced one before, can't see it. Each man touches a different part of the massive creature. One man feels the tusk and immediately declares the elephant is like a hard, smooth spear. Another touches a thick, sturdy leg and describes it as a solid pillar. A third feels the trunk and says it's like a thick snake. While a fourth, feeling the broad, flapping ear, insists it's like a large fan.
So they all have completely different ideas of what an elephant is.
Precisely. Each man perceived a different reality based on their limited partial experience. Yet each reality, while incomplete and even contradictory on its own, was a small part of the overall truth of the elephant. This fable shows that reality is what we make of it, through our individual perceptions and interpretations, not necessarily just a single objective appraisal of all the facts available. It's a collection of partial truths that, when put together, form a more complete, nuanced picture.
That fable really resonates. Can you think of a disagreement you've had with someone where both of you had a part of the truth but neither saw the full picture, maybe leading to a prolonged misunderstanding? And the essay then gives us some powerful real-world examples of how people and even nations choose their reality, sometimes against overwhelming odds. Like in Ethiopia, where an army armed with bows and arrows and bayonets managed to defeat a modern European army. How did that even happen?
It happened because of a powerful collective choice of reality. It shows how perception can override perceived material facts. Menelik II led indigenous people who decided to fight fiercely for their land, for their gods, for their glory and independence. Their perceived reality wasn't one of inevitable defeat due to inferior weaponry. They weren't just looking at the facts of military technology, which clearly favored the Europeans.
They didn't just accept the facts.
No. Instead, their reality was one of a chosen, righteous fight for their values, for what they deeply believed in. They chose to believe victory was possible, and that unwavering belief, that shared interpretation of their situation, well, it powered their actions and led to an astonishing victory against a technologically superior force. Similarly, think of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, a renowned Indian educationist and social reformer. During his childhood, he faced extreme poverty, lacking money and resources. He famously studied under a street lamp, using the public light at night to read because he couldn't afford lamps or oil at home. His reality was not defined by his poverty or the lack of comfortable study conditions. Instead, his reality was shaped by his unwavering determination to learn and uplift himself. He chose to perceive his circumstances as challenges to overcome, not insurmountable barriers to surrender to. These are powerful individual and collective choices that demonstrate how perception and interpretation can profoundly alter outcomes, pushing past what might seem like objective limitations.
These are such inspiring stories. How do these accounts of Menelik II and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar show that our circumstances don't always dictate our outcomes, but our response to them, our chosen reality, might be the true determinant? It's a powerful testament to the human spirit and our capacity for agency. So, what does this all mean when we scale up these individual choices to countries and global politics? The essay says that national realities can be disruptive and nonconformist.
Absolutely. Just like individuals, countries operate based on their own perceived realities. These are deeply shaped by their unique history, geography, culture, strategic interests. Every country naturally wants the world order shaped by its own version of reality, where its interests are prioritized and its values understood. And often, stronger nations can more easily impose their views and narratives on the global stage. And yet, there are significant moments of defiance where a nation's chosen reality pushes back, challenging the prevailing global narrative.
Like pushing against the grain.
Exactly. The essay uses India's nuclear testing at Pokhran in 1998 as a prime example. When world hegemons, particularly Western powers, essentially decided no more nuclear weapons for anybody else, India's reality was quite different. For India, being sandwiched between two hostile, nuclear-capable countries, Pakistan and China, with whom it had experienced wars, well, that necessitated a change in its security status quo. It wasn't about conforming to a global narrative about non-proliferation. It was about defining its own security reality and ensuring its survival. India's perception of its national interest outweighed the international pressure.
So, their reality was about survival and security, not just global rules.
Precisely. And more recently, India decided to buy cheap oil from Russia, even when Russia was engaged in a war with Ukraine. And many Western nations had imposed sanctions and urged others to do the same. Why? Because the West's version of realities, their moral and political stance against Russia, simply didn't fit India's geopolitical calculations. India prioritizes energy security, economic stability for its massive population, and maintaining strategic autonomy. These decisions powerfully highlight how a country's self-interest, historical experiences, and unique context create a distinct reality that can and often does override external pressures and global narratives.
That's a really clear explanation of how complex international relations are. How can a country's historical experiences and geographical location fundamentally shape its reality and decision making on the world stage, especially when those decisions go against powerful global narratives? It makes you see that every nation has its own elephant, so to speak. So it's clear that realities can be multifaceted, varied, and have different narratives. But here's the crucial warning that the essay gives us. These unique realities are often part truths, and part truths, especially in our modern world, can be easily distorted.
This is where the dangers really begin, particularly in our hyper-connected digital world. The essay highlights how unconfirmed news stories, rumor, and misinformation spreading rapidly on the internet can create alternate versions of reality, often with devastating consequences. Take the widely reported example of Sarabjit Singh. He was vilified and allegedly arrested for harassing a young woman, a story that was broadcast day in and day out across various media, shaping public perception. People believed it. However, he was later acquitted, meaning the initial, widely accepted reality that painted him as a villain was, in fact, false.
So the initial story wasn't the full truth.
Not at all. This illustrates vividly how, in what the essay accurately calls the age of infodemic, fake news travels around the world at lightning speed while the truth is still, putting on its shoes. Partial information, even if it has a tiny grain of truth, can be amplified, twisted, and weaponized to create an entirely false narrative that people believe is real, often because it confirms their existing biases.
That's a scary thought, especially with how quickly information spreads today. In today's digital world, how do you actively check if the news you're seeing is a full truth or just a partial, potentially distorted one designed to manipulate your perception? And this distortion is intensified by echo chambers and filter bubbles online. The essay explains that they really mess with a person's sense of understanding, making them incredibly susceptible to whatever narrative they're fed, whether it's injustices that never happen or violence that hurt nobody.
This phenomenon is precisely how consent is manufactured, a concept powerfully explained by Noam Chomsky, where public opinion can be shaped and manipulated by controlling the narrative. Let's break down echo chambers and filter bubbles. Echo chambers are like digital rooms where your own voice, or the voices you already agree with, just bounce back at you amplified. You mainly encounter information that reinforces your existing beliefs, making it seem like everyone thinks like you.
You only hear what you want to hear.
Kind of, yes. And filter bubbles are similar, but they're created by algorithms. These algorithms learn what you like based on your past online behavior, then they show you only that kind of content, effectively filtering out anything challenging. Together, they create an isolated information environment where contradictory evidence is rarely seen, and existing biases are constantly reinforced, often to extreme degrees. For someone radicalized by these tools, imagination truly becomes the truth, displacing facts. The essay cites the chilling example of the terrorist Kassab from the Mumbai attacks. During his trial, he refused an Indian lawyer, insisting on a Pakistani lawyer. He was living under the false, delusional impression that his country would protect him for his noble deeds. He couldn't process that Pakistan had actually disowned him.
He was completely detached from reality.
Completely. His reality was so thoroughly warped by the extremist narrative he'd been fed that he couldn't accept the actual facts. Reality, as the essay states, is often profoundly disappointing for deluded minds.
It's truly shocking that even highly educated individuals like bin Laden, an engineer, and al-Zawahiri, a surgeon, ended up creating such a contorted, false sense of truth and trying to impose it on the world through violence. It's a paradox that's hard to reconcile.
It is, and it raises an important and deeply troubling question. Why would a surgeon, whose job is fundamentally to save lives, end up orchestrating the butchering of helpless women and children? Or an engineer, whose calling is to create and build, end up causing massive destruction? The essay brings us back forcefully to our opening argument. Reality is ultimately a selective act of perception and interpretation. The human mind, the very same mind with this incredible capacity for awareness that lets us build wonders, nurture families, create societies, can also be twisted. When selective perception is fed by narrow, hateful ideologies, this same mind can cause the greatest destruction, kill millions, and disturbingly even take pleasure in it. It shows the incredible and sometimes terrifying power of how we choose to perceive and interpret the world, and how our awareness comes with immense responsibility for those choices.
That's a truly sobering thought. How does this illustrate the immense responsibility that comes with our unique human capacity for awareness and the choices we make about what becomes our reality for ourselves and for others? It feels like we hold incredible power in our hands. So ultimately, the essay concludes that the difference between constructive and destructive realities lies entirely in the choices people make, how they choose to react, what they think, and the independent realities each individual constructs.
Big tech and algorithms.
Now, let's pivot from the profound nature of reality itself to something that profoundly shapes our modern reality every single day, often without us even realizing it. The second question: big tech algorithm without humanity is mental holocaust. This is a stark warning, isn't it? And it begins with a powerful ancient quote from Sophocles: "Nothing vast enters the life of mortals without a curse."
That quote sets a powerful and almost ominous tone, suggesting that every revolutionary advancement, every vast new thing we create, can come with unforeseen negative consequences, a curse, alongside its blessings. The essay traces this common underlying theme through history. It shows this isn't new. It's a recurring pattern in human innovation.
So it's not just about technology now.
No, think of polymers of ethylene, what we commonly call plastics. When first invented, they were revolutionary. Lightweight, durable, waterproof, incredibly versatile, made carrying goods so much easier. Yet these same polymers now choke our marine life, creating vast ecological disasters like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, suffocating wildlife, polluting our planet for centuries.
Right, the plastic problem. It's huge.
Exactly. Or consider air conditioners. They allowed us to control indoor temperatures, bringing immense comfort, enabling activity in hot climates. But now, these same systems contribute significantly to rising global temperatures, rising sea levels, melting polar ice caps through energy consumption and refrigerants. Even the rise of large-scale industries, while replacing fragile manual labor and creating efficiency, often led to severe worker exploitation, dangerous conditions, environmental degradation. The point, as the essay clearly makes, is that it's seemingly impossible for humans to create something truly flawless, something impeccable, that doesn't have a downside somewhere down the line.
That's a powerful historical perspective. Can you think of another invention in history that started with great promise but ended up having a significant downside that wasn't initially foreseen, maybe changing society in unexpected ways? It really makes you realize that progress is rarely simple or purely beneficial. And in the 21st century, the essay argues, we set out to create a parallel world to the internet, one that we hoped would be without borders, without identity prejudice, racism, or violence. It started as a tool for communication, but quickly morphed into something far more pervasive, much like a Neanderthal would carry a spear, a fundamental everyday tool. But what exactly is an algorithm in this context?
That's an excellent question, and the essay gives us a clear and simple definition to start. Simply put, algorithms are just a series of steps or instructions. They aren't limited to computers or the internet at all. Anything that happens stepwise can be considered an algorithm making tea, cooking from a recipe, even the steps in a temple ritual or a dance routine. Algorithms fundamentally are just tools, a set of instructions to achieve a specific outcome.
Okay, so like a recipe. Got it.
However, these tools are most efficiently and pervasively deployed by big tech. That network of giant tech companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and others that now permeate almost every sphere of our existence. Tech algorithms are everywhere. Google searches, apps on your phone, social media feeds, online shopping. On the face of it, they seem harmless, even helpful. They prioritize what we want to see, making our lives easier. Big tech often presents them as just a tool, designed purely for convenience and connection.
Just a tool. We hear that a lot.
But here's the crucial point. While a recipe is a simple algorithm, big tech's algorithms are vastly more complex. They're powered by sophisticated machine learning, AI, constantly learning from trillions of data points, not just your clicks and searches, but how long your eyes linger on an image, your scrolling speed, maybe even implied emotional reactions. And yes, Google's AdSense isn't just one software. It's a colossal advertising network across millions of third-party websites. It collects data on your behavior everywhere online, compiling an incredibly detailed, always updating profile of your habits, preferences, fears, desires.
That's a much deeper understanding of how these algorithms actually operate. When you think about your daily online activities, where do you notice algorithms making things easier for you? Maybe by showing you exactly what you're looking for or recommending something you love. It's undeniable they offer a certain kind of convenience. But here's the twist. If it's just a tool designed for convenience, why can't a child be separated from a mobile phone today without a struggle? Why do we see people glued to their phones practically everywhere, on public transport, at dinner tables, even in the toilets? There's clearly more to it than just convenience, right?
You're absolutely right. There's a much deeper mechanism at play. The essay states the answer is complex, yet, in essence, quite simple. Big tech has designed algorithms not just to serve us, but for a far greater underlying purpose money. Companies like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram argue their products are free, and yes, many core services don't cost us money directly. But as the documentary The Social Dilemma famously puts it, and this line that really sticks with you, when something is offered for free, we are the product.
When something is offered for free, we are the product. That's a really powerful and chilling thought. When you're using a free social media app or search engine, have you ever truly considered what you might be giving up in exchange for that seemingly free service? It recontextualizes the whole experience. So if I search for, say, a bucket and then don't buy it, Google somehow knows. And suddenly, buckets are everywhere online, in my ads, my social media. How does that happen exactly?
It's quite intricate, but the essay makes it clear how pervasive this tracking is. Google filters information based on vast amounts of past data collected about your online behavior. If you search for that bucket and don't immediately buy it, you'll find it reappearing everywhere you go online, on news websites, on a random blog, practically every time you open the internet. This is because Google deploys that extensive advertising network, AdSense, specifically designed to track what you're up to across different websites hosting Google Ads. It's following your digital breadcrumbs.
Okay, so it's tracking me across the web.
Exactly. Similarly, everything you see on platforms like YouTube recommendations, Facebook's suggested groups and posts, Instagram Reels, everything is curated just for you. This curation is based on incredibly intricate metrics. How many seconds your eyes stop at a post, what you like and comment on, what content grabs your attention most effectively, even things like how quickly you scroll past certain items. This constant tracking and algorithmic curation ensure the content you see is not only personalized, but meticulously designed to keep you engaged, scrolling, and on the platform longer.
That's why those ads feel so eerily accurate sometimes. Have you ever noticed how precisely online ads seem to know things you've only thought about or briefly searched for, sometimes even before you actively realize you want them? How does that pervasive tracking and personalization make you feel about your privacy and your online experience? And the consequences of this constant algorithmic catering are huge, what the essay calls a mental holocaust. It warns that it deprives individuals of mental agency and drastically decreases our ability to focus.
The consequences are indeed manifold and deeply concerning, impacting our cognitive abilities and mental well-being. By constantly feeding us only what we like and what keeps us engaged, these algorithms reinforce our existing thought processes, both good and bad, without challenging us or introducing diverse perspectives. This creates a kind of intellectual echo chamber where our minds become less flexible, less open to new ideas.
We get stuck in our own bubble.
Right. And research suggests an average human now has an attention span shorter than a goldfish, about 9 seconds. This isn't just a casual observation, it's a measurable decline. This relentless overstimulation from rapidly changing content, constant notifications, and the chase for instant gratification, those likes and comments, leads to widespread restlessness, anxiety, and a constant need for immediate validation. Big tech, unfortunately, is very good at providing this, creating a constant dopamine loop in our brains, much like a slot machine. It makes these platforms incredibly addictive. This trains our brains to seek instant gratification, eroding our capacity for sustained focus, deep work, complex problem solving. It's essentially remodeling our cognitive architecture. The essay even notes that, according to a recent study, around 4% of people in India suffer from some form of mental health disorder, highlighting the societal impact.
Do you ever feel restless or find it harder to focus on longer tasks or deep conversations after spending a lot of time online? I certainly experienced that shift in my own attention span. And when this digital conditioning spills over into real life, the consequences are even more disastrous. The essay highlights how it creates echo chambers that severely distort a person's sense of reality, very often leading to radicalization.
Absolutely. The essay points to how extremist groups like ISIS can influence and radicalize youth sitting thousands of miles away, drawing them into their worldview through these powerful digital echo chambers. This radicalization, starting online, can tragically lead to real-world violence, destruction, and death. The essay cites examples like the Delhi riots, the Udaipur killing, the Polgar lynching as just the tip of this terrifying iceberg. It shows how online narratives, pushed by algorithms without human judgment, can ignite real-world conflict.
It's frightening how online hate can fuel offline violence.
It is, and sometimes the results are beyond cruel, showcasing the profound inhumanity of systems lacking human judgment or context. The essay gives a stark, truly shocking example. A Twitter news link about a sexual assault was chillingly accompanied by a condom advertisement. This wasn't necessarily malice, it's simply how algorithms work. They match keywords without understanding sensitive context or human emotion. They see sexual, assault, sex, and match an ad related to sex, completely missing the tragedy.
That's awful, just completely tone deaf.
Exactly. Similarly, a seemingly innocent game of chess played online was flagged by YouTube's algorithm for using words like black, white, pill, and checkmate. Again, the algorithm just identifies patterns and keywords, lacking the nuance to understand the innocent context of the game. These instances reveal the profound disconnect and potential for harm when algorithms operate purely on data patterns without a humane touch or a deeper understanding of human language, emotion, and context.
Those examples of algorithmic insensitivity are truly unsettling. How might an algorithm, designed without human understanding or empathy, misinterpret context and cause harm, even unintentionally, in ways that a human editor never would? It's a really important question. So, what exactly causes some series of alphabets living in code, a computer program, to cause such despair and agony? How does something designed to ease lives end up doing the exact opposite?
The answer, as the essay states directly and powerfully, is simply that big tech's tools are not objective. They are not the impartial, neutral tools they are often made out to be, just serving user needs. Beneath the veneer of convenience, they are, at their core, meticulously designed profit-generating machines. Their ultimate goal is to maximize revenue by capturing and monetizing our attention, our data, our engagement. When profit becomes the primary driver and human well-being, nuance, ethical considerations, real-world context are secondary or absent from the design, you inevitably get algorithms without humanity, indeed a mental holocaust of sorts. The fundamental design flaw is prioritizing endless engagement and data collection over the complex needs and well-being of human consciousness.
That puts it very clearly. Having elaborated on the what, why, and how these engines cause chaos and despair, it's worth reflecting on what can actually be done. What are the steps we can take, both as individuals and as a society, to counteract this powerful, often invisible influence?
The essay offers several crucial steps that move us from simply understanding the problem to actively addressing it, striving for a more humane digital future. First, and perhaps most fundamentally, is awareness. This isn't just passive knowledge. It means truly understanding how these algorithms work, why a notification pops up, why a particular ad appears. It's about pulling back the curtain, seeing the mechanics, recognizing that what you see isn't neutral, but engineered. This awareness is the first line of defense against being unknowingly manipulated.
Okay, so step one is just knowing what's going on.
Right. The next step is actively countering it. This isn't just knowing. It's conscious action, regaining control over our digital consumption. It means not mindlessly clicking every YouTube recommendation, not liking everything just because it's there. And crucially, educating our loved ones, especially kids, about these powerful dynamics. It could also mean setting screen time limits, digital detoxes, intentionally seeking diverse information sources.
Taking back control, basically.
Exactly. A more long-term, systemic measure involves sensitizing developers and coders about the potential consequences of their creations. The essay mentions a former Google Facebook employee confirming the like button was originally created to spread love and positivity. Nobody involved imagined it could end up distorting national elections, like with Cambridge Analytica, or contributing to widespread anxiety. This highlights the urgent need for ethical considerations, foresight, and a deeper understanding of human psychology in tech design.
So thinking about the impact before building it.
Precisely. Finally, an important measure is promoting inclusiveness at all levels. In big tech company boardrooms, where diverse perspectives are often lacking at societal levels, even within our neighborhoods. Professor Maynard, cited in the essay, argues that fostering cross-cutting identities, where people identify with multiple groups across different lines, can help develop long-term tolerance and peace, both online and offline. This creates richer perspectives, making societies, and the algorithms reflecting them, less susceptible to narrow, radicalizing viewpoints and more attuned to the complex tapestry of human experience.
Those are concrete and actionable steps, which is incredibly empowering. Which of these steps do you think is the most challenging for individuals to implement in their daily lives, and why? It's truly sobering to acknowledge that never before in history has the thought process of societies been so profoundly shaped, maybe even controlled, by a relatively small group of people, mostly young men, in Silicon Valley.
This leads us to a critical realization, and back to that Sophocles quote. Every time a fiery, unchecked post radicalizes the youth to violence, or an online disagreement escalates to canceling someone, an uncritical, passive acceptance of whatever technology offers is, at least partly, to blame. We noted earlier it's impossible for humankind to create something impeccable, flawless, without negative repercussions. This fundamental truth needs to be realized, especially as technology becomes ever more powerful. Therefore, everything, including technology in all its forms, must pass the rigorous test of a rational, critical mind. We can't blindly accept the tools. We must scrutinize their design, purpose, motives, and impact. The ultimate goal, as the essay concludes, must be to create systems and algorithms for humanity with a humane touch, meaning designed with our well-being, critical thinking, diverse perspectives, and collective good at their core, rather than just maximizing profit or engagement at any cost.
That's a powerful and essential call to action. What responsibility do we as users and citizens have in ensuring that technology truly serves humanity's best interests rather than the other way around, potentially leading us into this mental holocaust? It's a challenge we all need to seriously consider. Comprehensive recap. Active recall. Wow, that was a truly mind-expanding deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground today, touching on some incredibly profound ideas. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap of the major takeaways for some active recall to really help these insights stick. First, from our discussion on reality is ultimately a selective act of perception and interpretation, what's one key idea that really stood out to you?
For me, it's that profound insight that reality isn't just a fixed set of objective facts out there. It's heavily shaped by our individual perceptions and interpretations, a process unique to our aware human minds. We saw this illustrated by the fable of the blind man and the elephant, each experiencing a different part of the truth, yet all contributing to a bigger picture. We learned how our awareness allows us to make conscious choices personal, like Vidyasagar studying under a street lamp, or national, like India's geopolitical decisions, and how these choices manifest vastly different realities. But crucially, we also learned the grave danger of distorted realities within echo chambers, which can tragically delude minds and lead to destructive actions, like with Kassab.
Absolutely. That sense of individual and collective agency in shaping our own worldview, for better or worse, is so incredibly powerful. Now, shifting gears to our second question, big tech algorithm without humanity is mental holocaust. What's a core message you'd want our listener to remember from that crucial discussion?
I'd emphasize that while technology offers incredible tools, its development by big tech often hides a deep, profit-driven motive behind its free services, ultimately turning us into the product in an attention economy. These algorithms, though designed to ease life, can dangerously deprive us of mental agency, shorten our attention spans, and even fuel radicalization and real-world violence when they lack a humane touch. We saw this in shocking examples of algorithmic blunders, like inappropriate ads or misinterpreting innocent language, highlighting their lack of human judgment. But importantly, we also discussed crucial solutions: cultivating active awareness, actively countering addictive patterns, sensitizing developers to ethical design, and promoting inclusiveness to build a digital world for humanity, not against it.
Excellent points. It's clear that both essays really push us to be more critical thinkers about how we perceive the world, and perhaps even more urgently today, how the digital world subtly and powerfully influences those perceptions. Outro. Okay, let's put a bow on this incredibly insightful deep dive. We've journeyed through the intricate ways our minds construct reality, explored our profound human capacity for awareness, and then examined the powerful, sometimes perilous influence of algorithms on our perception and interpretation of the world.
Indeed. This entire discussion, I hope, raises an important question for you, our listener. Given that reality is shaped so fundamentally by perception and interpretation, and that big tech algorithms are constantly influencing what you perceive and how you interpret it, how do you actively engage with both your inner world and the digital one to ensure you're making conscious, informed choices rather than simply being passively carried along?
Think about it. Both essays ultimately highlight that our world, whether internal or external, isn't a fixed, unchangeable thing that just happens to us. It's fluid, dynamic, constantly shaped by our engagement, our choices, and our critical faculties. We have more power than we often realize.
The ultimate freedom, then, lies in understanding this shaping, questioning assumptions, and consciously choosing how you engage with information and the powerful tools that deliver it. This is how we move from being products to being conscious creators of our own experience.
What future and what reality will you help create with your conscious choices, both online and off, armed with these new insights? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you plenty to mull over and perhaps a new lens through which to view your own reality and the digital landscape around you. Until next time, keep digging deeper.